pastors' wives, and they had gone out and interviewed quite a few, and their portrayal, I'm sure, does not apply to all pastors' wives in this country, but their descriptions in the book really paralleled what we've already heard from Mary Winkler through statements and friends, that she felt she had to be perfect, the perfect kids, the perfect wife, the pressures behind the scene were enormous. Does that resonate with you?
It does. I think there's two possibilities here in this case that we have to look at in terms of, as someone was saying before, what was going on inside of her mind. Number one, she said in her statement after she fled to Alabama, "I've been battling this for years. I took it like a mouse, just like my mom did with my dad." This suggests, along with the swollen jaw and with the black eyes that others have talked about, that there may have been a pattern of abuse underneath the kind of perfect family, and there's some suggestion of that going back to 1999 when they were living in Pegram. There were some incidents that suggested physical violence and abuse. But I'm surprised this hasn't come up yet. There is also the issue of the dates of March 22nd and March 23rd. As all of you, I'm sure, are aware, Mary was handling the finances for the family, and she and her husband had been battling about that evening. And she had gotten sucked into a 419 scam, a Nigerian scam, and had deposited fraudulent checks as a part of that for $17,500 into her bank account. Now, on March 23rd, she had gotten a call the night before. She was going to have to go to the bank with her husband, Matthew, to own up to those fraudulent checks. That's when Matthew is going to find out, and it is the night before that she took a shotgun, propped it up, shot her husband, said, "I'm sorry," took some money, and fled with her children. So while we're not saying that this was not an accident, it certainly prevents a very powerful motive for a woman who needs to be perfect to kill her husband to avoid telling him this horrible, horrible truth that she had gotten into. And I think this is something that the prosecution will certainly explore. They've already begun to.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about that on the other side. But first, Jill Monnier, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we've got lots more on Mary Winkler. But first, while Mary may have fallen prey to the old Nigerian lottery scam, there's another group of email pranksters out there targeting, would you believe, Oprah Winfrey fans. Oprah's people are said to be furious about an unauthorized pitch, which promises fans tickets to Winfrey's talk show, airfare, and even a hotel room in exchange for filling out a 50-page marketing survey. Be careful with those emails, everybody. We'll be right back. We're back with more on The Preacher's Wife Accused of Murder. We're over here debating guns and how you do this, all this sort of thing. You and I were both suggesting that we were surprised we're not hearing more questioning or building up of the abuse. The accident theory isn't resonating with me, but the abuse such that I was so nervous, I was so upset. I had to tell him what I'd done, and I just don't even remember the gun going off, kind of a thing, as opposed to, oops, I slipped on a pillow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a much stronger argument because we do know she was involved in this check kiting scheme. She had to go to the bank the next day with him. These are things that really factor into a premeditation. So I don't understand how we're not talking about, I was so frightened, I don't even remember where I was, what was happening. I just was so frightened he was going to kill me when he realized I lost a lot of our money.
Yeah.
And then the gun went off and that's what I would think if you did slip and there was an accident, what we would be building much more on, the emotional state of Mary Winkler, rather than him. The attorney seems to be very still and
calm, methodical,
showing the gun. I would think that we'd be building a little more on her emotional.
You want to put the gun aside
before the gun.
Let's not talk about the gun. Georgia, do you agree? If you were defending as opposed to prosecuting, it's not surprising, given if you follow that theory, that she wouldn't tell the whole truth to the cops in the first interview. That she would try and protect the reputation of the pastor. That she's not going to jump out and say the man was abusing me.
That is exactly right. That what she said throughout this interview with Stabler after she fled was, I want to protect his reputation. He's a good man. It's my fault. This is the pattern of a woman who has been abused. I have to tell you, Catherine, I am really quite surprised that they've gone for this accident angle when there's so many factors that suggest abuse on the one hand, and there's so many factors that would suggest she was fearful of abuse because of this check kiting scheme. It just seems like they're going up the wrong alley. I do tend to agree.
Yeah, and maybe they just are trying so hard for acquittal versus voluntary manslaughter, but you can raise the emotions and sympathies enough that you